Hi, have you ever asked yourself why things are so hard? Why relationships are so hard? Why surviving in the economy today is so hard? Let's talk about that just a little bit. I'm going to start with this. I've made a few videos now, and they've not necessarily been the best. I know that, and I can accept that, and I'll explain to you why here in a little bit. But making videos, talking to a camera is difficult for me. I've been a pastor since 2000 actually. And I can talk to people and express myself to them without any problems. But you put a camera in front of me and I just kind of wilt. Um, I determined that in making these videos, I was going to make them as conversational as possible. But I find myself being subdued, trying to keep a nice quiet tone. And that's not really what you want to do when you're talking to a camera. it seems it seems like you're monotone. It seems like you're not getting your point across the way you'd like to. Not only is it difficult for me to talk to a camera, but then I have to edit. And I am not tech savvy by any stretch of the imagination. I wish I was, but I'm not. So I have a hard time with editing, and then with putting things together and getting it on YouTube itself. I fight with that. It's hard for me, but that's okay. And again, I'll get into that as we go along. When you're making a video like this, you're trying to act natural without looking like you're trying to act natural. Sometimes that can be difficult. For me at least. I don't know, maybe you're different than I am, but I have a hard time with acting natural in front of a camera, with just being who I am in front of a camera. When I'm around people, I joke, I cut up, I have fun. When I get in front of a camera, it's like that all just disappears. I fight with it as a matter of as a matter of fact. But in life, almost everything that you deal with is going to be difficult. You understand that? And making videos is no different. It's just part of life. And you have to understand that when you're doing something difficult, in most cases, not in every case, because sometimes we make things more difficult than it has to be. But in most cases, when it comes to making things better for yourself, that means it's going to take work. Anything worth having is worth working for. And sometimes it's going to be hard. I want to give you a little bit of background on on my past and how I've learned this lesson the most. Now, as you can see, I'm rather large. I'm just above 300 pounds. Normally, I float just below 300 pounds, but my medication I take water pills, and I ran out, so I'm starting to balloon up a little bit. But roughly, I weigh around 300 pounds. Um, I was as heavy as 378 pounds. That was easy to get there because I didn't have to do anything except sit on a couch and eat donuts. Krispy Kremes was my friend. Um, I had the excuse that I had a doctor years ago tell me that if you work out, you've got some discs in your back that are bulging, and if you work out, you're going to end up in a wheelchair. So I quit working out for years until I had a doctor tell me, "How come you're not working out?" And I said, "Well, I had a doctor tell me if I worked out anymore, I'd end up putting myself in a wheelchair." He says, "Bullcrap, work out." So that put it in my mind I need to start working out again. I didn't at first because it was hard. I didn't want to do the hard thing. I like the path of least resistance. And that, in many cases, leads us in a direction we don't want to go. So I finally decided, all right, I'm going to lose weight. So I started a diet, and you got to find a diet that's healthy. I chose the keto diet and it worked for me. I went from 378 pounds down to where I'm at now. Um, it was difficult at first because I love my milk. I didn't like to have a meal without milk in my glass at the table. I wanted milk and I wanted potatoes and I wanted noodles. I wanted all these things that basically just pack on a weight for somebody like me. I had to cut that stuff out. And I thought, this is going to be ridiculously hard. I'll never be able to do it. So I started little by little and I got to where I could do those things. Why was it important? Because they were causing inflammation. They were causing a problem with my blood pressure. There was a lot of issues that I had. Back then, I could hardly walk. I'd go grocery shopping and I'd have to sit down 4 or 5 times while I was grocery shopping because I just couldn't handle it. I had to use a cane. And even with that, I struggled. In fact, there was one time we were living in Texas, I fell down and I had to have my wife bring me my cane out because I didn't have it with me. And she helped me to stand up. And that's when I said, okay, things have got to change. So I started then just walking as much as I could and so forth, not really working out per se. Um, I did change my diet. Actually, that was in Kentucky. It was when I finally decided to change my diet. Started losing the weight. It wasn't until last year I started working out. I found a program by a gentleman, Dr. Sullivan, and I'll see if I can't find his book and post a picture of his book. But it deals with people 40 and above being healthy. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be healthy. So I started working out, and then I came in touch with another doctor. They told me that there was a problem with my heart. So they sent me to a cardiologist, and I went to see the cardiologist, and they said, basically, I'm not going to go into all the details. There was a lot of things that went on with this, but basically, I had an aneurysm on my ascending aorta, which is serious. I mean, very serious. And push come to shove, she convinced me I can't lift the way I started lifting. So I had to lay off. So I went to dumbbells and I was lifting a lot lighter than what I wanted to lift. And I was frustrated. And there was a lot of prayer and a lot of things going on in my life because of my health. Well, about 6 months later, I went for a CAT scan with the same cardiologist. And she told me, I can't find an aneurysm. There's no aneurysm there. I said, can you explain that? And she says, I can't explain that. I said, well, I can. There's been a lot of prayer going on for this. I believe I've been healed. She says, well, it's not there. I said, well, there you go. So I told her that I was going to continue with my lifting, that I was going to start lifting heavy again. She said, oh, no, you can't do that. I said, oh, yes, I can. See, I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to live my life in a way to where I'm fearful that something awful is going to happen. If it does, it does. I can't help that. And I'm not going to go out of my way to do something to harm myself, but I'm going to live my life in a way that I enjoy. And I told her that. And so I started lifting again. Now, I'm saying all that to let you know that I'm not some fitness guru that I could tell you all the ins and the outs and how you should lift and how you should work out, and whether you should do aerobics or whatever. I can just tell you what worked for me. And I started working out with heavy weights again, and I had to start out light. I started out lifting. My overhead press was just the bar at first because I was weak. As big as I was weak. Same thing with a bench press. Started with an empty bar. In fact, even now when I'm doing warm ups, I start with an empty bar and I work my way up to my work weight. But it's hard. But I did it. When I was doing my deadlifts, I started out with 135 pounds, which was the bar and 245-pound plates. And I started lifting with that. And I had to have them elevated a little bit because I was so fat I couldn't reach down and pick up the bar if it was sitting on the floor. But I started with 135 pounds and I did my warm-ups and I worked my way up to where today I lifted 340 pounds with a deadlift, which for I'll be 67 in May next month, and I lifted 340 pounds. Now, is that record breaking for anybody else? No, but I'm not lifting for other people. I'm lifting for myself. I'm not trying to be stronger than somebody else. I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. And I was able to lift that weight, and I was very happy with it. My work weight was a set of 3 at 340 pounds. I'm very happy with that. Next time I'll do 345 for my heavy weight. I work a heavy week and a light week. Same thing with my squats. I have a light week. Like today, I lifted 245 pounds on my squat because I knew I was going to be doing 340 pounds with my deadlift. But the whole idea is working towards something hard, doing something hard, doing something to make myself better. I could very easily sit on the couch and watch TV and eat ding dongs and pizza and all that good stuff that I like. And I do have that occasionally, not like I did, but every once in a while we have a cheat day and I'll have something good like that, and it's fine. The whole idea is to strive to be better than I was yesterday. This is what life's all about. No matter what you're doing in life, no matter what you're living through, you can always make life better. Find something that maybe you were afraid to try because it seemed difficult. I love playing the guitar. I'm not that good, but I love playing guitar, and I'm going to continue to play guitar until the day I die. Why? It's fun. I have a hard time with bar chords. I'm still struggling with those, but I do them. I have a hard time with keeping time on some songs because some songs are intricate, but I have fun with it. This is what life's about. Don't worry about what you can't do. Find out what you can do. Even if it's difficult, start. There's no better place in the day to try something new. I wanted to learn kayak fishing. That's not going to be easy for a guy my size, getting into a little bitty kayak and going out in deep water and fishing for bass and for muskie or pike or whatever, because I live in North Dakota and that's what they got. Smallmouth bass and pike and muskie and a few other fish, but that's the majority of them. Crappie maybe. But it's something I enjoy, something I want to do. Get out there and try something. Get out there and learn how to line dance. Get out there and do some Tai Chi. Get out there and just rub shoulders with people. Maybe you're an introvert and you don't like getting out in crowds. Well, don't start with crowds. Start with just finding one person you can talk to. Find one person that you can relate with. See, I use lifting weights in my dieting as an example of doing a hard thing to make life better. No matter what it is, you do something hard, it's going to make you stronger. One way or the other, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to help you with your future endeavors. It's going to help you with self-discipline. It can be fun. Once you get into it, it can be fun. You look at somebody that plays football. When they started out, they weren't any good. You look at somebody that's really good at baseball. When they started out, they weren't really good. You got to start somewhere. And if you make a mistake today with my bench press, when I did my bench press, 215 pounds, which is not a great deal of weight, but for me it is, on my last set of bench press, I only got 2 of my reps out instead of 3. Does that mean I'm going to throw up my hands and wail and give up? No, what it means is next time, instead of going to 220, I say 215 and I strive to get my 3 sets of 3 done. And then I'll move up when I'm finished with that. But I don't give up. Neither should you. Whatever it is in life that you want to accomplish, you can do it. But you got to try. You got to make the effort. And if you fail, you try again. Just because you fail once doesn't mean it's not for you. I don't care who you look at. Look at some of the greatest guitar players in the world. Look at Tommy Emmanuel. The man is phenomenal. But he didn't learn in a day. I mean, you look at any great musician, they didn't learn in a day. You look at any great racer, car racer, they didn't do it in a day. It took them a while. Why are we any different? So find something you want to do and do it. Find something that you find exciting and do it. And don't expect to be perfect at the first time you try it. Know that you're going to have to work your way up. Even now, when I lifted my heavy weights, I didn't start at those heavy weights. I started with a warm-up weight. Like I said, I started with an empty bar on my bench press and worked my way up to 215 pounds, incrementally warming up my muscles so I didn't hurt myself. Because you have to have good technique. There's things that go along with it, and you learn those as you go. So find something you enjoy. Find something you believe you enjoy and try it. And if it doesn't work, then find something else. Make a video. Do whatever it takes to stretch yourself, to grow, to make life worth living. That's what I have for you today. My name's Russell, and this is Life Worth Living. If you enjoyed what I shared with you today, do me a favor and click a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Lord bless you, and I pray the Lord just be with you all day. Bye-bye.